Now this video is about the greatest common divisor. The greatest common divisor. Let's review what we know about numbers so far. If you're asked to find factors of number 12, you will say that the factors of number 12 include 1. 1 is always a factor because when you divide a number by 1, you always get that number. 2 is a factor of 12. 3 is a factor of 12. 4 is a factor of 12. 6 is a factor of 12, and of course 12 itself. These are the factors of number 12. Let's look at factors of a number such as 16. 1 is a factor of 16. 2 is a factor of 16. 4 is a factor of 16. 8 is a factor of 16, and of course 16 itself. Among these, there are factors which are common. For example, when we look at 12 and 16, we find 1 is common, 2 is common, and of course number 4 is common. So common factors of 12 and 16 include 1, there is 2, and there is 4. Now, which of these factors has got the greatest value? Of course, it is number 4. So we are going to say that 4 is the greatest common divisor of 12 and 16. 4 is the greatest common divisor of 12 and 16. By greatest common divisor, we mean that number which is a factor of both numbers, but it has got the greatest value. Remember what we mean by factors of a number. Factors of a number means those numbers which can divide that number exactly without a remainder. And all those numbers can divide. For example, we've looked at all the numbers which can divide 12 without a remainder, all the numbers which can divide 16 without a remainder, and then we compare them. Now let's see a different method of getting this greatest common divisor. We are going to have 12 here. We are going to use some kind of table, and 16 here. So we draw this table, and we look at factors of these numbers starting with the smallest. For example, 2, I know 2 is a factor of both 12 and 16 because 2 can divide 12 exactly without a remainder. How do I know that a number is divisible by 2? So that is where that skill, the divisibility test, comes in. So I know that a number is divisible by 2 if the last digit is either 0 or even, and I find that both numbers are ending with an even number. So when I divide 12 by 2, I get 6. 16 by 2, I get 8. Again, I want to find out 6 and 18. Can they be divided by 2 without a remainder? Again, it's true because each one of these numbers is an even number. So 6 divided by 2, I get 3. 4 divided by 2, I get 4. Now, when I look at the 3 and 4, there is no number which can divide 3 and 4. There is no, it's not like 6 and 8, 2 can divide both of them. At this point, I end at that point because there is no common number which can divide both of them. So I will get these factors and multiply them together, and I get 4. And this one happens to be the greatest common divisor of 12 and 16. So what do we mean by the greatest common divisor of a number? this point. So we have looked at the fact that the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. The factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. 1, 2, and 4 are common factors of both 12 and 16. But the greatest among them is 4. So 4 is referred to as the greatest common factor, GCF, of 12 and 16, or the greatest common divisor, GCD, of 12 and 16, or the highest common factor, HCF, of 12 and 16. All these terms can be used. Now let us see about three numbers. For example, if you're asked, find the greatest common divisor of the following numbers, and I want to use an example in our books, and this example is 72, 96, and 300. So you've got 72, 96, and 300. Let's find the greatest common divisor of these numbers. Just draw a simple table like that one, and again, just like before, I start with 2, because just by looking at these numbers like this, I know 2 can divide 72 because the last digit is even. The last digit is even here, and the last digit here is 0. So the condition for the divisibility test of 2 has been fulfilled by all three numbers. So 72 divided by 2, I'm going to get 36. 96 divided by 2, I'm going to get, I think, 48. And of course here I'm going to get 150. Let's see. Can 2 further divide these numbers? Yes, 2 can divide 36 because this number is even, this one is even, and this one is 0. So here I'm going to get 18, here I'm going to get 24, and here I'm going to get 75. Can 2 further divide these numbers? It can divide 18, it can divide 24, but it can't divide 75 because the last digit of 75 is neither even nor 0. So it is odd. So 2 cannot divide that. So I check the next number, which is number 3. Can 3 divide these numbers? What is the divisibility test for 3? The divisibility test for 3 is this. The sum of the digits in the number should form a number, then we test whether that number is divisible by 3. For example, 1 plus 8 is 9. Is 9 divisible by 3? Yes. 2 plus 4 is 6. Is 6 divisible by 3? Yes. 7 plus 5 is 12. Is 12 divisible by 3? Yes. So 3 is a common factor to 18, 24, and 75. So 18 divided by 3, I get what? I get 6, I get 8, I get 25. At this point, let's see whether we've got another number which can divide all these numbers, and there is none. At that point, I've come to the end, because when I look at 25, the factors of 25 are 21, 5, and 25. No other number. This is 2. It doesn't, there is nothing common between the factors of this and the factors of this, factors of this and the factors of this. So at this point, I stop at that point, and then I find the product of these factors. So to get the greatest common divisor, I'm going to get greatest common divisor of these three numbers will be 2 times 2, which is 4, times 3, which is 12. So 12 is the greatest common divisor of these three numbers. And that is all you need to do. You just need to understand what is the meaning of the greatest common divisor. So you start first of all by looking at factors of a number. If you can be able to get all the factors of a number, list them down. Get the next number, list those factors down, and then look at the factors which are common to all the numbers that you've been given. Look at all the factors, and then which factor has the greatest value, or is greatest among them, or is largest among those common factors. Okay, so that is what you need to do in this particular chapter. It is so simple. So go through the exercises that have been given there. There is exercise 4.1, but I would like to look at example 3 in that exercise. Example 3, if you've got your course book with you, reads like this. 3 tanks are capable of holding 36, 84, and 90 liters of milk. Determine the capacity of the greatest vessel which can be used to fill each one of them an exact number of times. So see, this one is an application of the greatest common divisor. It's an application in everyday life. So these 3 tanks with the capacities of 36, 84, and 90. So all that I'll do, I'll get the number 36 here, I'll get the number 84 here, and I'll get the number 96 over there. And then I draw this simple table. A simple table here. So let's find out, starting with the 2. Can 2 divide each one of these numbers? Of course it can, because the last digit there is even. So 36 divided by 2, I get 18. This one gives me 42, and this gives me 40 what? 46. I mean 48, sorry. I'm supposed to be 48. 48. Let's check. 2 again. Yes, 2 can divide each one of these, and I get these numbers. And I get over here, I get 24. 2 again? No. This one is odd, and this one is an odd number. So I go to 3. Can 3 divide 9? Yes. Can it divide 21? Yes. Can divide 24? Yes. So 3. So 3, 7, 8. And that becomes the end of that. So the greatest common divisor is 2 times 2 times 3, which is 12. So this container with 12 liters can be able to fill each one of those containers exactly, because that is what we were asked to find. Determine the capacity of the greatest vessel which can be used to fill each one of them an exact number of times. 12 is the greatest common divisor of these 3 numbers, and you can see that application. Let's look at another example over there. Example number 4 reads like this. What is the greatest mass that can be taken in an exact number of times from 144 grams, 216 grams, and 126 grams? Again, it's about finding the GCD of those 3 numbers. So go through the exercise. If you find any one of them that is challenging, put it in the comments below, and maybe one of the people who are watching that video can be able to answer back, or when I get back to the video, I can be able to give you a straight answer to maybe the problem which you would be encountering. Otherwise, in the next lesson, we are going to look at the next chapter.